January 1st, 1914. While the rest of the world held its breath, watching the dark clouds of World War I gather over Europe, in sunny Florida, two men decided to do something utterly absurd. At the time, they had no idea that this wasn't just an adventure. It was ground zero for the history of commercial aviation. St. Petersburg and Tampa, two cities separated by a bay. Back then, this was a divide that was nearly impossible to cross. A train ride took a full 12-hour detour, and a boat ride meant 2 hours of bouncing over waves. For Abram Field, this inefficiency was nothing short of murder. Field was the embodiment of the American dream. He had climbed his way up from a laborer earning $1 a day to becoming a dredging tycoon and mayor. He was a pragmatic businessman, and for the sake of his business in Tampa, he had had enough of wasting his life on the road. So, when a startup flying company announced the auction for the ticket number 1, Field snuck out to the event, hiding from his wife, reportedly to stop her from having a heart attack. Amidst a crowd of curious onlookers, this shrewd businessman shouted out a bid of $400, equivalent to $12,000 today. What he spent this small fortune on was this machine sitting on the water. It had a poetic name, the Lark of Duluth, but this lark was actually a cobbled-together monster. Its hull was painted dark green and made of spruce wood. Its pair of massive orange-yellow wings were covered in nothing but a thin layer of Irish linen. The whole thing weighed only 567 kilograms. To put it bluntly, it was a wooden speedboat with wings attached. Its heart was a Roberts 6-cylinder engine. It had only 75 horsepower, less power than a modern Honda Fit. Even worse, this engine had a quirk. It had no exhaust pipe. This meant that, because the engine was located directly in front of their knees, the passenger had to endure the exhaust fumes and unburnt castor oil spraying directly into their face for the entire trip. Mayor Field had obviously done his homework. He boarded the plane wearing a long oilskin raincoat, knowing that once they took off, it would be an open-air wind tunnel. Waiting for him in the cockpit was the other half of this gamble, 24-year-old Tony Johnews. If Field was risking it all for time, Johnews was risking it all for the thrill. This young man was known as the Birdman. He wasn't a standard driver. He was a rock star of his era. 2 years earlier, he had done something earth-shattering. He flew a plane while a man jumped off the back with a parachute. The first time in history a parachute jump was made from an airplane. He once even drank an entire case of beer mid-flight, just to numb a stomach ache. For Johnews, this flimsy wooden plane wasn't a vehicle. It was an extension of his own body. When the raincoat-clad, serious-faced Field climbed into the cockpit and sat next to the young man with a wild grin behind his goggles, history's strangest duo was born. A businessman doing it for the deal, and a daredevil doing it for the sky, squeezed shoulder to shoulder in a wooden box built for two. 10 a.m. Takeoff. It was by no means a perfect journey. For 23 minutes, they skimmed just 5 meters above the water, roaring at 100 kilometers per hour. Sea breeze, spray, exhaust, and oil plastered both their faces indiscriminately. Halfway through, due to an engine chain failure, Johnews even had to make a brief emergency landing on the water to adjust the machinery. You can imagine Field's feelings at that moment. His wife's nightmare had come true. But after a simple fix, the stubborn lark roared back to life and charged into the blue sky once more. Despite being covered in grease and soaked to the bone, they landed in Tampa on time. 3,000 people were cheering on the shore, but the first thing Mayor Field did after getting off wasn't to bask in applause. He went straight to his suppliers and ordered thousands of dollars worth of mechanical parts for his dredging company. Then, he got back on the plane and flew home to St. Petersburg. The round trip proved one thing. This wasn't a stunt. This was business travel. That $400 ticket was just the beginning. After that flight, the ticket price was set at $5, and with that, the world's first flight schedule was born. It dictated Takeoff at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. every day, whether the mayor was there or not, whether the seats were full or empty, the plane would fly on time. It was no longer an adventure based on luck. It had become a predictable tool of transport, just like a bus. The ending of the story isn't perfect. The airline went bankrupt after just 4 months. The brilliant pilot, Tony Janus, died in a crash in Russia just 2 years later, his body lost forever in the Black Sea. Mayor Field returned to ground to run his business. But on that New Year's morning in 1914, when the businessman in the raincoat and the fearless pilot looked at each other through faces covered in oil, the butterfly had already flapped its wings. Two men, one paying with money, the other paid with his life, joined hands to make the massive Earth a little bit smaller. On that day, the future took off.